with the Tom Brady news today that he's joining the paparazzi and the NFL on Fox #1 game booth with Kevin Burkhardt whenever he's done playing. Based on that news, of course, we had to call up this man from the Tampa Bay Times to come back here on the Rich Eisen Show on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is Rick Stroud. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing well, Rich. Has anybody told Greg Olson about this development yet?
Well, I just did, I think. But, hey, man, obviously Brady can do whatever he darn well pleases. I'm sure he's got many options in front of him. I'm sure the minute that he initially announced his retirement, people were coming out right after him, and I'm sure Fox was calling him the minute that happened. So, and that's the conversation, I think, is that the minute that Aikman was leaving for either Amazon or ESPN, they were talking about that with Brady. Mm-hmm. So does this surprise you, Brady's choice, Rick?
Well, no. I mean, nothing he does surprises me, and I think he'll be great at it. I mean, we talked to, his quarterback's coach today, Clyde Christensen, said, if he told me he was going to be a plumber, I'd tell you he's going to be one of the best plumbers that ever existed, So that's kind of who he is. We don't know when, obviously. It's sooner than later. I mean, when he retired, Rich, he talked a lot about his family, about, knowing he needs to be at home more. I mean, I don't know. You do this job. It seems to me like there's some work involved here, and he wants to be good at it, which means, I don't know that he's going to be, watching a lot of film or anything Monday through Thursday, but, how many games he does and being gone 17, 18, 20 weekends a year. I mean, I don't know. That's a little surprising to me in a sense. But listen, nobody knows the game better than Tom Brady, and I think the difficulty for him will be, can you keep him from just saying this guy sucks, quarterback, man? Like, I could do better than that. Maybe I should get down there and play a little bit more. So, but I think he's going to be, great. And again, I don't know when the end. I mean, we're nearer to it than ever. He quit once. But is it next year? Is he going to play another year some other team? Like, those are the questions we don't know. But I'm sure Fox may have gotten some indication. He hasn't told us.
So let's try and pinpoint what that might be. The way that we can pinpoint it is his contract. What is the latest on that? Was there any maneuvering that was done to sign people? Was there any attempt to get him on the dotted line past 2022? What's the scoop on all of that, Rick?
Well, I mean, he looked around. I think he was looking at things he might do. The Bucs made it clear, and I think the Bucs have always had good communication with him. But even going back as far as the combine, Bruce Arians at that time when he was the head coach was sort of adamant about, we're not trading his rights. I mean, we're going to put him on the retired list, and somebody would have to trade for those. And they said, well, would you trade him? He said, yeah, for 5 number ones. And I think the Bucs kind of played it a little hardball there, with him. And I don't know that Brady ever asked to have those rights traded or anything like that. But it got to the start of free agency. They kept the lines open. And he realized that for whatever reason, whatever he was looking at that time, whether it was broadcasting or joining the Miami Dolphins, as we have read, as the minority owner or whatever, he just decided that his best option was to play. And if he was going to play, he needed to let the Bucs know so they could retain most or all of their free agents. And so he did on the eve of the start of free agency and got all his guys back. But they would love to have him here for more years. I don't think he's interested in that. I think, gone through that experience last year, for whatever reason, I think he wants the ability to look around if he's going to play again. They would certainly always want him back, but it really hasn't been talked about in terms of, hey, would you like to add another year or two here? I think he wants to be a free agent the way he became one in New England, and we'll see. He's going to be 45 years old. They think they have a good shot at another run at a Super Bowl, and that's what Tom Brady does. So maybe he walks out with the confetti on his head this time, Rich. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, certainly if the Super Bowl is on Fox, right? Like, so if he, I'm serious. I'm being serious. Like, so his future broadcasting home is broadcasting a Super Bowl that he's just won for the 8th time at age 44. I mean, at what point would you have a more perfect walk-off I mean, so
Yeah.
that would be, in my mind, a clincher that he would be in the booth next to Kevin Burkhardt for 2023. But in terms of, his options, what is your reporting on what he thought about with the Dolphins? I know you were saying that whatever he was looking at when I was asking you about his contract, what was he looking at, and why was he looking at anything other than the Buccaneers based on your reporting, Greg?
Well, I don't know exactly. I will tell you what I do know is that, this idea that him and Bruce Arians had soured on each other, I don't think is true. I don't think he ordered the code red, so to speak, on Arians. It would be sort of sociopathic to come to the guy's, execution when he stood up there and handed the baton to Todd Bowles. Now, would Brady have suggested while he was mulling over whether he wanted to play or not, and it had to be Tampa Bay, hey, I'd like to do this, this, and this, and maybe knowing that wasn't what Arians wanted to do. I do think, and I wrote about this, there's a much better, sort of feeling maybe for Brady, or comfortability, if you will, under a guy like Todd Bowles. And people forget, even though Todd Bowles played for Bruce Arians and coached for him, he's really kind of under the Bill Parcells tree. He went to Dallas, learned the 3-4 there. Parcells brought him to Miami under Tony Sparano. They kind of think alike. He's very hands-on. Bruce has not been. He's still going to call the defense, but he's also going to be in some of the offensive and quarterback meeting rooms at times. He's not going to get in the way of that. But I think they see the game similarly. I think they, want to play complementary football. If you got to run it 40 times, you run it 40 times. You'll see more of that, I think. And so, again, that tells me that Brady would have been in the Bucs ear about certain things, maybe even the ascension to Todd Bowles. Arians got what he wanted, which was his guy's the head coach, and he's still in the front office. I think everybody's happy. Hell, he's going in the Ring of Honor for whatever that's worth. And so, whether he looked at another team, and certainly Mike Florio and others think that he did. We know that they did ask to talk to Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints, but why wouldn't you, right? Because that's one of the best coaches of all time. It didn't happen. Whatever his plans were there didn't happen. We know one of his forever homes is in Miami, so that all kind of makes sense. But no one's ever said anything definitively about that on the record. And I just feel like he realized that if he was going to play, whatever he had been looking at, even broadcasting, that his best opportunity, and maybe his only, because the Bucs made it clear they weren't trading his rights, was back in Tampa. And he has a good football team in a division they can win, and he can get right back, and he calls it unfinished business against the Rams, so we'll see. But I haven't been able to confirm, all that other stuff, his plans of playing for the Dolphins and things like that. That hasn't been confirmed to me yet.
Well, I guess maybe Rick Stroud here of the Tampa Bay Times here on the Rich Eisen Show, I guess maybe if he does have an interest in joining ownership, and he could still do that as a broadcaster for Fox. I'm sure Fox wouldn't stand in his way of being a broadcaster. I mean, Dwayne Wade has a piece of the Utah Jazz, and we see him on Turner every now and then, and I'm not sitting there thinking this man doesn't have any opinions that I'm uninterested in, because he's a part owner of a team, and Tom Brady can be able to parse all that stuff out. I'm also just wondering, because the idea that he'd want to continue playing and then play for somebody other than the Bucs, who would that be? Because Miami might be it, because they're loaded, right? And they, if he does want to join the ownership of that team, maybe that would be it. But why would it be an open-ended question of him going somewhere else to play another year if that's what he wants to do before broadcasting, in your thought, Rick?
Why would it be open-ended? I don't know. I just, it makes sense from the standpoint of that's where he's going to live. And, I don't think he wants to move his family, very far again. I think he enjoys being on the East Coast, certainly because his son is in New York. It's a quicker access from that standpoint. And, look, he's a Florida man now, Rich. You get down here in the palm trees and you walk out in January, it's 80 degrees. And he has a habit of coming out and saying, hey, best day ever, one top 10 day, right? Top 10 day here. I mean, he enjoys where he lives. And like I said, I mean, we know they're planning to live in Miami for some time. Giselle obviously travels, and there's access to a lot of international airports down there. Not that they need one, but I think it just all makes sense, right? That his next move is going to be a place that he wants to live and work, and he's not going to go on the tour and similar to sort of what he did, probing the globe as to to find out where he was going to go after the Patriots. I don't think it'll be that situation. We know he's got relationships with Stephen Ross and other minority owners with that team, so like all of that adds up. Except Tom Brady is unpredictable. He doesn't share a lot of information with people except in his circle. He keeps it very tight. We've all tried to ask. A lot of people are closer to that than I am, unfortunately. But I know that I know he's enjoyed playing here, living here, and if he wants to play another year for a third NFL team, who would say no to him? Although apparently some people said no to him the last time.
I mean,
it would be a team.
Yeah, and we heard him on LeBron's show, The Shop, talk about the MFer that he couldn't believe that they were sticking with over him, right? And obviously Miami would give him an opportunity to go up to New England one last time. And have them in his house where he knows personally it's tough for the New England Patriots to win. That might be a scenario. I got Rick Stroud here on the Rich Eisen Show. But for the succession plan, this does give, I guess, the Bucs another year of a runway for it. I remember you came on this show first blush after Brady's retirement, and you would kind of set the world on fire by talking about the obvious, which is who's on the roster. Blaine Gabbert's the guy, right? And everyone was what are you talking about? They're not going to do that. Now they have Brady. An interesting conversation today because there was a press conference with Byron Leftwich, and you were there. What's the scoop with Kyle Trask? How does a guy's second-round choice last year now have to be in a competition to be the backup? What's up with that?
Well, he's not in competition to be the backup. I mean, they say anything can happen, I guess, in football. But really, his quarterbacks coach came out here afterwards, after Byron, and said, no, I don't see that. I see him, Blaine's one of the better backups in the NFL. He's going to be our number two, and Kyle's got another year to grow and develop. And I don't think there's a bad thing about him learning another year under Tom Brady, blah, blah, blah. Well, I think Kyle Trask might have a different opinion to that for sure. He wants to get on the field. They don't know what they have, and nobody will know what they have until or unless there's a time when he does play. And I don't mean preseason or scrimmages or any of that stuff. And yet, Kyle Trask's history from high school, backing up the Eric King to, Felipe Franks at the University of Florida has been, this is what he does. He comes on, he's a backup, he develops, and then when he gets his chance, he knocks it out of the park. And it's got to be incredibly frustrating for him because I'm telling you, Blaine Gabbert and him were going to compete for the starting job. Gabbert might have gotten the first bite of the apple, but Trask was going to get a chance to play. And they would have won 5 or 6 games, Rich. that was the way it was going to go.
Right.
But I think he might have preferred playing to not playing. So he's got to find a way to swallow that and continue to get better and have a good attitude about it. And you look around the league and you see a lot of quarterbacks that go to bad teams and they have to play right away. This team retained a lot of the free agents that will be here beyond Brady if he plays more than just one season. And he's going to have a good football team to play for and a bunch of guys he's familiar with and an offense that he knows very well. So we don't know the end of the story, but right now it probably sucks for Kyle Trask.
What about the idea of Baker Mayfield? Is there any possibility on this green football earth where crazy things happen, like goats retire and then come back and then say that they're going to retire to be in the Fox booth? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I've seen a lot of crazy things, as you mentioned, right here in Tampa. I have not heard, Baker being one of those exploratory deals. Like when they were looking for a quarterback to replace Tom Brady, they did work on Baker, and I don't think they dislike him as a quarterback. In fact, I know, former coach here, Todd Monken, that was the offensive coordinator, went to Cleveland one year and loves the guy. And I respect Todd as much as anybody. So, you're always looking. You always have a list. He was on that list. So was Deshaun Watson, which was a no-go for ownership apparently. So that wasn't going to happen. So I really do believe they ended up with Blaine and then Kyle, and then they might have been in those discussions if it had gone that way. But right now, the room is kind of full with the 4 guys they got, and I don't think they're looking to add anybody else. But in this business, Rich, nothing surprises you. But right now, I think they're set.
And what's the scoop with Gronk before I let you go, Rick? Why is he playing coy, cat mouse, or is he really thinking that he's not going to ride it out with Tom?
Well, he left Tom once, and he came back, and they did have a good ride together in a Super Bowl and on a boat parade. And, then last year he went out and he got busted up again, Rich, and he was reminded why he quit the first time. He broke 4 ribs, he punctured a lung, came back and played his ass off, played really well. But he was set to I believe he was set to retire because Tom had retired. It's a good time to go out. He's put the keys on the table and picked them up once before. But mentally, where was he? And he's always going to keep himself in shape. Hell, he can walk around and look like he's in shape even if he's not because he's Gronk, right? And but I think he's enjoying his parties at the beach in Las Vegas. I think he's it's the summer of Gronk, Rich. That's what you can't interrupt the summer of Gronk. And he doesn't like OTAs. He wasn't coming to those. He doesn't have to come to the mandatory mini camp. All he has to do is say, I want to play and be here for training camp, and they'll take him back with open arms. He knows that. I don't think he's going to play anywhere else. So my guess is he will play, and he'll play here. But, I didn't have the 19 surgeries that he's had. And I don't know what opportunities are out there beyond football. He's got a beautiful girlfriend or fiance or wife, whatever. And I do think that he's smart as hell and could do a lot in business. So it's really up to him. And I think he's trying to, enjoy his life and make sure what he feels like come August. If he gets the itch, he can play. And if he doesn't, he'll stay out.
Rick, you're the man. Really appreciate the time. Look for my call again. You never know.
I look forward to it, Rich, every time. Thanks, man.
Right back at you. At NFL Stroud on Twitter. I follow him. You should too. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.